Welcome to the Fusion Power Hour, Real Health Talk. The Fusion Power Hour is presented by Fusion Ions Bands. Fusion Ions, live your best. Go to fusionions.com for more information. And now, here are the hosts of the Fusion Power Hour, Matt Ryncarz and Donald Barrett.
All right, welcome to our brand new Fusion Power Hour. It's Real Health Talk Radio, and we're going to be bringing you real health talk every week. I'm your co-host, Donald Barrett, and I'm here today with Matt Ryncarz. Matt, are you with us?
I'm here. How's it going?
Great. Well, this is our first show, and we're going to be talking about a lot of different health issues and things that are current in the health world over the next few weeks. But for our audience, maybe they haven't, maybe they don't know you, or maybe they haven't seen you on television before. Give them a little bit about your background, Matt.
Sure. So I'm the founder of Fusion Ions, which is essentially a negative ion company. We sell negative ion products. I'm very big into natural health. I'm a nutrition expert. I'm a fitness expert. I'm a power lifter. I've spent a lot of time just working inside the health and fitness industry and creating and bringing and researching the best products that are out there. And for me personally, my journey started when I lost almost 100 pounds at one point in my life. I was over 300 pounds. I was obese, unhealthy, and I completely turned my life around. So now I'm completely dedicated to health and fitness and wellness, and I love health topics. That's why this show really excites me, because we can bring real information with real opinions from our real experts we deal with and bring it to the public. So
yeah, it's exciting because we can really talk about a whole variety of subjects that a lot of people, you know, they skirt around. We're going to be talking about things that Dr. Oz, for instance, may not want to talk about on his show.
Exactly.
So that's why I like the name Real Health Talk. And as you know, Matt, I've been interviewing really everyone in the world of health and nutrition for the past 15 years. I've interviewed thousands of doctors, health professionals, chiropractors, all types of anybody that's really in the wellness arena has been interviewed probably by me in the past 15 years. Exactly. So it's a great opportunity for us to bring a lot of those past guests on the radio and talk about, what they have to offer, because there's so much information coming out on health and nutrition all the time. People really have to keep up to speed with it. I mean, there's new information and breaking information coming out all the time.
They do, and they not only have to keep up with it, but they have to look at the source that it's coming from, because that's the problem that I see day in and day out. Is there's a lot of information, but there's a lot of misinformation that gets passed around. And that's kind of what we're here to do.
And a lot of things, I was talking to some people about the show the other day, and someone said, who do you listen to? Who do you listen to when it comes to getting real health information? I mean, how do you answer that question? Because people say, and a lot of people that are older, like my parents, for instance, they'll only listen to a qualified medical doctor. But today it's interesting. When you want information on health and nutrition and staying healthy, a lot of times the medical doctor is the last person you go to. You usually go to a medical doctor when you're sick.
Exactly. Yeah, and a lot of the information is out there is kind of anecdotal, where it's not legitimate information based on actual research. So when you ask me that question, what do I do personally? I go and I actually look for the research. I look for actual, clinical trials, human trials, whatever it is that I'm researching, to see what the actual documentation is on the subject that I'm trying to research. Because you can't just take, even a person with, several degrees, you can't just take their information to heart, because, what they're saying may not be based on legitimate science and legitimate medical research. So luckily, with the amount of medical research out there, there's a lot of resources you can find to help point you in the right direction. And frankly, that's one of the reasons we're doing this show, right? Is so we can actually bring that research to light and try to help guide people where to go, where to find more information, bring them information, but based off actual research and not just off, our gut feelings or us being paid by the pharmaceutical industry.
Right. And this hour, this Fusion Power Hour, we're going to be talking about a very controversial subject, something that's been in the news since last Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
Velvet Deer Antler and the controversy around Velvet Deer Antler. And not just Velvet Deer Antler, but all of the performance-enhancing substances that athletes are using today.
It's a huge topic. It's I mean, you can't get away from the news on it. It's all over the place, and a lot of our major athletes are being affected by it. And it's definitely a subject that's worth talking about. I think one of the ways we should start is let's talk about what Velvet Deer Antler actually is, so people understand what it is that we're talking about. Because I get this question a lot, especially with the scandal with Vijay Singh and Ray Lewis, and people aren't really educated on what Velvet Deer Antler actually is. And I know you had an interview with Dr. Duarte, who actually wrote the book on Velvet Deer Antler.
Yeah, he wrote the only book on Velvet Deer Antler, the ultimate anti-aging supplement. I have the book right here with me. And, that interview that I did with Dr. Duarte, we can post on our Fusion Power Hour website as well.
Excellent. Yeah, well, I think it's a very relevant interview. And what I found was interesting when I listened to it was that he actually discovered it in Russia. So the Russians were actually using it. And they're using it as a alternative performance enhancer to anabolic steroids. And they actually found in some cases that the Velvet Deer Antler was working better for their athletes. So he brought that back and started using it on athletes here, and that was kind of where it got the start here in the United States.
There's Ray Lewis. Now everyone's talking about A-Rod. I mean, performance-enhancing drugs, for instance. I can understand steroids being banned in a lot of these, organizations. Obviously, the NFL and all these sports organizations don't want to be involved with something that could be bad for people, especially giving bad impressions to young children that could potentially be taking these steroids. Exactly. But when it comes to natural substances, and that's what I want to talk about Velvet Deer Antler for, that's what I want to talk more about the Velvet Deer Antler today, is because natural substances, where does it end with Congress and everybody trying to regulate, our what we're watching on television, as far as what athletes are taking into their body? I mean, Velvet Deer Antler is good for you. Vitamin C is good for you. Vitamin D is good for you. I mean, are you going to start banning people from taking all of these different substances? I mean, doing push-ups could give you an advantage. Well, are we going to stop people from doing push-ups as well?
Yeah, we have to regulate hard work.
Right. But let's start again. What is Velvet Deer Antler? You said it was discovered in Russia?
Yeah, so it was that's where it was discovered for athletic use. It's been used for over 10,000 years in Oriental medicine as an anti-aging tool, as well as a sex therapy tool. So it actually helped cure people of sexual dysfunction, is why people started to use it originally.
I have the book right in front of me with Dr. Alex Duarte, and it says, for 10,000 years, Orientals have used Velvet Deer Antler to improve energy levels and strengthen the organs of endurance, specifically improving lung function, muscle development, stamina, kidney function, and blood components. For over 2,000 years, Chinese physicians have used Velvet Deer Antler to treat over 55 different disorders, including general pain, weakness, chronic joint degeneration, sexual impotence and infertility, and the list goes on and on. I mean, it's pretty amazing stuff when you look at all the different benefits that Velvet Deer Antler has to offer.
It really is. And the cool part about it is it actually comes from the antler of the deer, obviously, as it says. And what happens is, as the deer grows antlers, they regrow their antlers once a year. It's covered by a velvety outer shell, and as the antler matures, they knock that shell off. So about 1 week before the deer actually knocks it off naturally, the outside velvet is removed and it's processed into either a spray format or capsule formats. I think the spray format is what's gotten the most press recently. And what research has found, is that the velvet deer antler actually contains natural occurring IGF-1 as well as 8 other growth factors. So IGF-1.
Yeah, what is the IGF-1 is really the active ingredient that makes this deer antler so unique. Am I right?
That's absolutely right. And what IGF-1 is the active ingredient that human growth hormone turns into. So when you hear all the talk about human growth hormone and people getting human growth hormone shots for anti-aging and all that, when it gets into the body turns it into IGF-1. So we're talking about the same ingredients that people spend thousands of dollars a month in anti-aging that's found in velvet deer antler, along with sterols, which help produce testosterone. A lot of joint dysfunction is helped with velvet deer antler because of a lot of different, I guess, the molecular makeup of the ingredients that are in it. So you're talking about
the testosterone. I'm sorry to interrupt you there,
no
Matt, but the testosterone levels go up as a result of people taking IGF-1. The body actually takes IGF-1, and somehow it increases the testosterone levels.
Yeah, it optimizes all of your hormone outputs. So, like if you were to test babies have very high levels of IGF-1 because they're growing. As we get older, and through bad nutrition, through damage to our body, we start to slowly lose the IGF-1 amount in our in our body. So
okay,
and that's why this is such an important product. It's why it's gotten so much press. Is it's helping reestablish something that our body naturally slows in production over time.
And there's what's interesting is there's no known side effects. Am I right?
There's not any known side effects of velvet deer antler. There hasn't been any research showing negative side effects at all.
All right, we're going to talk more about the velvet deer antler in just a few minutes, but let's take a minute and hear from our sponsors.
Gigahertz, providing customers with excellent service since 2008. Computer problem? Leave it to the staff at Gigahertz, priding themselves with an unparalleled work ethic and continuing to offer customers the lowest prices around. Gigahertz services include PC repair, networking, PC setup, custom PC builds, pickup and delivery, in addition to in-home and in-office service. Get small to large business solutions, service contracts, and much more. Computer problems? Gigahertz. And that's where we come in. Gigahertz for your computer repair and solution needs. In-home, in-store, wherever it's convenient for you. Think your PC's infected? Gigahertz offers free virus diagnostics, with most virus removals done in 48 hours or less. Plus, they'll optimize your PC. Take that, Best Buy. Give Gigahertz a call. 219-218-9323. That's 219-218-9323. Or log on to gigahertzpc.net. Gigahertz, and that's where we come in.
All right, well, welcome back to Fusion Power Hour, Real Health Talk. I'm your co-host, Donald Barrett, and I'm here with Matt Ryncarz, and we're talking about the very controversial product, Velvet Deer Antler, this hour. If you're listening and you've heard about Velvet Deer Antler or all the controversy about performance-enhancing drugs and Ray Lewis or A-Rod, you've probably heard about Velvet Deer Antler, and there's a lot of misconceptions out there about Velvet Deer Antler because it is a great product for the average person to take every day. I mean, most people that are over 35, they start losing, like you were telling me before the break, Matt, their IGF-1 levels, meaning their IGF levels go down at around starting at age 35, right? So
Correct.
By taking, and when you do that, you lose your sex drive, for instance. You might not have good recovery times in the gym. Dr. Duarte, when he was on the show, he was really talking about the sexual benefits that Velvet Deer Antler has to offer. What do we know about these?
Well, we know that IGF-1 helps enhance testosterone in both men and women, and that's something that I'd like to really touch on. Is that a lot of women don't understand the importance of testosterone inside their own bodies, but women need testosterone just as much as men do.
So Velvet Deer Antler can be taken by women and men?
Women and men should take it, absolutely. And with that increased testosterone is going to increase sexual desire. But also inside of the Velvet Deer Antler makeup, there's also sterols, which are your body's testosterone production as well. So not only do you have the IGF-1 that's helping testosterone production, but you have the makeup of the Velvet Deer Antler, which is also independently helping your body produce testosterone. That's why so many athletes like to use it, is because of, they feel it helps their muscle building, their strength, their recovery, you name it. All those things, athletes can benefit from testosterone on those levels.
But if someone's having a erectile dysfunction, or if they're having, let's call them failures in the bedroom, I've read so many different testimonials, just doing some research on the Velvet Deer Antler, of people that are getting their sex lives back just by taking this Velvet Deer Antler.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And actually, remember, that's how it was actually discovered. It was discovered for sexual dysfunction. That's why, in the ancient Orient, people started using it. They had no idea about, the NFL wasn't around back then, 10,000 years ago. So they didn't realize the athletic benefits. But that's what it was primarily used for, was sexual dysfunction.
Let's talk about the different brands that are out there, because when I was doing research again before the show, I went online and I typed up Velvet Deer Antler, and I went to the shopping part of the website, and it had all these different prices starting at $12.95 all the way up to $300 to try Velvet Deer Antler. How come there's so many different brands, and are there any brands that are better than others?
So what you're the issue with Velvet Deer Antler is it's an unregulated natural product. So it's
not regulated by the FDA.
It's not regulated by the FDA.
And the only reason that is, and people have to realize that, it's not a drug.
It's not a drug.
It's not. The FDA only approves drugs, and I always have to tell people that, because people always, they're regulated by the FDA. No, the FDA only regulates drugs. And people think because the FDA puts their stamp of approval on things, they believe that it's deemed safe and effective. Where the fact of the matter is, the FDA has approved more drugs that have killed people than virtually any other organization out there in the past 15 years.
Exactly.
So when someone is FDA approved, that doesn't mean that it's not bad for you. Let me just first say that, just so people understand that as they're watching the show. But no nutritional product, no natural supplement, no homeopathic product is regulated by the FDA. Am I right?
None of them are. You're absolutely right. And so what happens is you have a variety of companies that put out a Velvet Deer Antler product. However, the potency is not the same amongst all your different brands. So going back to your question, what do you look for in a brand? You look for the potency of the deer antler. And they judge it by nanograms. So nanograms is a potency. For instance, Now Nutrition has one that's, I think it's only an $8 product, but only has 100 nanograms. 100 nanograms contains virtually zero IGF-1. So I wouldn't recommend using any product that doesn't have at least 10,000 nanograms, and I've seen some products as high as 200,000. My sweet spot is 25,000. I think 25,000 is a great nanogram count. And
because Velvet Deer Antler is so hot, a lot of companies are just popping up and putting Velvet Deer Antler on a label and not necessarily doing the test to make sure that amount of nanograms is in the product. So I think it's very important for people to choose a reputable company as well when choosing, or when picking out their Velvet Deer Antler.
100%. They should look at the labeling, make sure everything's listed on a label. I've come across several companies that don't even put the nanogram count. I'd stay away from those. Also, let's talk a little bit about the controversy, because people want to know what is it about the deer antler that's caused controversy. And it's interesting, but the World Anti-Doping Association actually approved use of Velvet Deer Antler in May of 2013. And now, essentially, what they do is they go and they test and they create a list of approved or banned substances, and most of your professional athletic leagues follow that banned use, including the Olympic Committee.
And what do they look for when they're deeming a product legal or illegal? What are they looking for? What's the criteria?
They're looking for levels of what they call illegal substances. So let me be very, very clear. IGF-1 in its natural state is still an illegal substance for athletes. However,
what do you mean in its natural state?
Meaning if you were to purchase IGF-1, synthetic IGF-1 by itself, and take it directly without taking it from a natural substance like Velvet Deer Antler, it is an illegal supplement to use.
Okay, why?
Why? Because they've deemed that human growth hormone or growth factors taking on an individual basis gives people an unfair advantage when it comes to sports. That's the doping agencies, their administrations.
So they believe it gives people an unfair advantage. That's why they're trying to get it out of the league.
Yeah, they believe that it gives people an unfair advantage. They believe that it helps them recover faster, get stronger faster, you name it. And
but that's my hope. I want to stop you there. Yeah. Okay, we believe it gives people an unfair advantage, but what are the side effects? What are the negative side effects? What's the downside? Like I said, push-ups give someone an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
My father used to always have me do push-ups when I came home when I was a young kid. And that always gave me an unfair advantage when I was in high school because a lot of the other kids weren't doing push-ups and I had an unfair advantage, right? Yeah. There's no downside to it. I can understand with steroids and things like that because there's a downside. But with Velvet Deer Antler or IGF-1, what's the downside of taking the product?
Yeah, there really isn't. And
there's just an upside.
We're the only country that actually bans HGH. So if you live and compete in other countries, you can use HGH as part of your regimen. So
what about in the Olympics?
It is banned in the Olympics, and we actually lost a great Olympic lifter this past year because they used a new test. Okay, so HGH to this point has been very, very, very difficult to test for because you're essentially testing for a hormone that you already have in your body, right? So how do you test for that? Everyone's going to have it. Everyone has HGH to live. They have the growth hormones. So what they've done is they've created essentially a baseline of what people of a certain age should have, and then if you exceed that, you are in a violation of, meaning they're essentially accusing you of taking additional HGH.
Okay.
And Pat Mendez, who's a Olympic hopeful, actually set some gym world records, meaning he didn't do it on a platform, but he did it inside the gym. He was tested and eliminated from the Olympics for, I believe, 6 years.
And he was a power lifter?
He's an Olympic weightlifter.
Weightlifter.
Yeah, 19 years old, just a freak of an athlete. And unfortunately, they used a new test. And this is the same test that's causing all the controversy in the NFL. So, there's a big dispute right now going on between the Players Association and the NFL over HGH testing because the Players Association does not want HGH testing inside the NFL. And they're kind of landlocked right now in court over if it should be legal or not. And now Congress is getting involved, and it's creating a huge stink.
I mean, it's unbelievable with all the things that we have to discuss in this country that we have to talk about people taking Velvet Deer Antler before they play sports.
Exactly.
Or HGH or anything that, I mean, I can see rather if it's bad for someone, if there was detrimental side effects or deleterious side effects associated with taking that substance, I can understand that the league's getting involved and people wanting to get involved and trying to, bury it.
Yeah.
But I mean, Velvet Deer Antler, and we're going to be talking about more products that can give people an advantage. And everybody wants an advantage, especially in sports, in the bedroom, wherever. Everybody wants an advantage. And a lot of times with the Velvet Deer Antler, it has a natural glucosamine and chondroitin in the Velvet Deer Antler. So a lot of times, recovery times in the gym or people that have joint pain or chronic joint pain can get relief from the Velvet Deer Antler as well.
You're absolutely right. And going back to the whole advantage, I want to make one point. Velvet Deer Antler, HGH, even steroids, none of them are magic fixes. It's not going to take an unskilled athlete and turn them into a professional athlete just by taking a substance. You have to have natural talent. You have to work your butt off to get to where you want to get to.
Right.
And,
so the average kid taking steroids is not going to wind up in the NFL because he took steroids. He has to have a bunch of natural talent and put a lot of work into it, regardless.
100%. You cannot simply take a substance and go and, let's say, it hit 60 home runs like Barry Bonds did. So all these people that are out there that essentially say, oh, well, he took steroids. Well, you could take any average person, give them steroids for not just 6 months, not just a year, the next 10 years, and they'll never be a professional athlete. It doesn't matter. It just enhances what they already have. And let's face it, these guys are professionals. So we all have professions we work in. They're professional athletes. So they're going to want to do whatever they can do to perform at their highest level because that's how they make a living. So, that's why performance enhancement is always a hot topic. Is because, let's face it, athletes are doing whatever they can do to get the edge and to perform better.
Now we're going to have a world record holder joining us in a few minutes. He's a power lifter as well.
Correct. Yeah.
And he uses the Velvet Deer Antler.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about our guest.
Okay. So so his name's Colin Evans, and he's a world record holder power lifter. He holds a record in raw bench press. So meaning in powerlifting, you have two different classifications. You have guys that use gear, which is like supportive and like bench shirts that help them lift, and then you have
like the tight shirts,
and
things like that. I've seen those over the years.
And then you have a raw lifter, which basically is just they lift in a t-shirt, so just like a regular guy going to the gym. He weighs 199 pounds and did a 464 pound raw bench press. He's going to be a great guest because he uses Velvet Deer Antler. He uses a lot of other natural supplements, including Fusion, to help with aches and pains and joint issues, and he faces a lot of the same problems a lot of athletes do. These guys put their bodies through major beatings, so they're putting a lot of hard work. They're doing a lot of working out, strength training, running, whatever it is, and that's hard on your body. So they're not only looking for performance enhancements, they're looking for recovery because they need it. And that's a lot of what he's going to talk about, how he's used it to help his recovery so he can train harder than the next guy. And that's something that's very important to him.
What is the controversy with A-Rod now?
Well, A-Rod's a little different. He was essentially busted using anabolic steroids, and the way he was busted using them was a lab that was based in Florida, kind of like you remember the whole Balco issue with Barry Bonds. It was a very similar lab that produced a lot of cutting edge steroids, and I say cutting edge because these labs nowadays actually can change the molecular structure of a steroid so it does not get picked up in tests. So just because someone quote unquote passed a steroid test or drug test does not mean they're not taking steroids. It's just the test that they're testing for isn't testing for that particular molecular makeup of the steroid. And they busted this one particular lab. Inside the lab reports were lists of athletes and customers, and he was one of them. And it's turned into a big issue that he's now facing. But even with Velvet Deer Antler, you have Vijay Singh, right, who admitted to taking Velvet Deer Antler. He said, he didn't realize that IGF-1 was on the banned list. Well, now Velvet Deer Antler now is on the unbanned list. So he's turned around. He's sued the PGA Tour because PGA Tour was going to fine him. They were going to, I believe, give him some sort of suspension. And now he's essentially suing them, saying he's hurt. The PGA Tour has hurt his reputation. So you can't. Around every corner, there's some sort of controversy going on with Velvet Deer Antler and performance enhancements. And It's even affecting golf. You don't really think of golf and performance enhancements, but lo and behold, it's definitely affecting it. And those guys, just like other athletes, again, put their body through a beating. They're looking for ways to supplement and have a much better performance when it comes to training into their tournaments.
Well, based on the research that I've done on Velvet Deer Antler, and like I said, I've interviewed the guy who wrote the book on it, Dr. Alex Duarte. I mean, I see it as a safe and effective product for really anybody to use, and I would recommend it to anyone over the age of 30. If someone wants a better sex life, if they want better recovery times, if they have joint pain, that's another great way to take it. So if you want more information on Velvet Deer Antler, you can simply go to our website, fusionpowerhour.com, and you can get all the information on Velvet Deer Antler and where to pick up the best brands. We're going to have to take a break and hear from our sponsors. Let's take a minute.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Snow, the CEO of the Arena Sports Network, and we thank you for listening to today's program, the Fusion Power Hour, which can be heard every Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern. If you like this program and any others that are on the Arena Sports Network, then we invite you, either as an individual or a business, to be a sponsor of our programming for a very low monthly rate. Go to thearenasportsnetwork.com, click on sponsor on the right-hand side of the page or in the menu to find out more information. Or you can simply give a call to 312-451-4041. The Arena Sports Network, where every team has a fan, and the official home of the Fusion Power Hour.
Welcome back to the Fusion Power Hour. And this segment, we have a very special guest with us. His name's Colin Evans. He's a record holder power lifter in the Raw division. And he's a friend of the show, and he's joining us to discuss what we've been talking about, which is Velvet Deer Antler. Colin, are you with us?
Yes, sir, I am. How's it going?
Excellent. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm having a great day.
I know Donald and I have been very excited to talk to you. We've had a great show so far, just talking about Velvet Deer Antler, the controversy, how it benefits people, how athletes are using it, the fact that the World Doping Administration just passed it as a legal use substance as of May this past year. So it's on everyone's radar. And you, as an elite lifter, first of all, do you take it? And if so, what do you think about it?
I definitely take it. I really enjoy it. For me, it helps give you that recovery edge. It's not really performance enhancing in the fact of, you're going to feel more energy. You're going to feel like the pre-workout rush. For me, I've noticed, recently I had a extreme hamstring tear in my left leg. And, it was about to be a career ender type thing. I upped my deer antler intake a little bit, and in about 5 weeks, I was back to deadlifting almost 700 pounds. Nothing else added in, diet stayed normal, but it just gives you that recovery edge, helps your muscles repair, and just keeps your body from just being destroyed. It helps your joints, just makes me feel when I was young again, when my joints were destroyed from all of my lifting and things like that. But I'm definitely for it. I believe it should be allowed in all sports because it just keeps your body healthy and young. And biggest thing I think is also your joints as well, because it's really hard to keep your joints strong. Once you do damage to it, it's really hard to get it back. You almost, cartilage tears, things like that, you can't ever get back to 100%. But the deer antler helps you get there, and it's really, really effective, I believe.
And something very important that you touched on is everyone that discusses performance enhancers, they're always talking about the benefit to performance, but a lot of times the benefit to recovery is left out. And I think I touched on this, earlier today, is that the recovery for an athlete is super important because it allows them to train harder, to go longer, and it's a major benefit for an athlete to be able to recover quicker and get over aches and pains. And we all have them. I'm a lifter too. I have them. Everyone has them. And whatever they can supplement to allow them better recovery is going to be a very, very important aspect. And
that's so important, Matt. I mean, whether it's weightlifting, basketball, football where they play every week, or baseball where they play, over 100 games every year. I mean, that recovery time is sometimes, overlooked.
And Colin, that's a great point, Donald. Colin, how much do you take, and when do you take it, and what's your experience been now?
I take about 5,000 ICUs a day. I try to spread it out about 3 different doses a day of the same dosage. And for me, I've noticed in the morning, I don't feel the days before the workout quite as much. My metabolism seems to be a little higher just because my recovery is ramping up. My muscles are rebuilding a little quicker.
So you're actually burning fat. You feel by taking it.
Of course. I mean, because I'm building more muscle. The more muscle you build, the more calories you burn. The more calories you burn, the more fat you burn. And the biggest thing, though, is it lets me keep my workouts at a high-intensity level at a longer period of time. Because a lot of times, especially with powerlifting, you have to cycle your training because your body can only take so much, pounding and so much damage and so much work before it needs time to repair. This lets you extend those periods out, lets me work harder, lets me push myself. And I've also broken a lot of my own personal records recently because I can up my workouts. I can increase the intensity and still come back the next day and follow up the same thing and keep going at that level.
So what?
Now, Matt, I have a question. If
Sure,
someone is just starting to work out again, maybe they're getting back into, maybe New Year coming up and things like that. People want to get back into shape, and if they're looking for a way to, maybe they're not an athlete, but when you start to work out, you get those aches and pains really quickly. Obviously, if I started to work out and I haven't lifted in a few years now, I would be in tremendous pain for a few days.
It would hit you hard.
If I did squats or started to bench press or started to work out again, I would have aches and pains for a week. Would it help somebody that's just trying to get back in the game?
Oh, of course. Because whenever you start back into it or you start off for the first time, you're going to have more pain than I am. I'm used to it. My body's adapted to it. When you're first started out, you're going to feel it, 100-fold more of the workout and all that. This will definitely help you break through that first month, that first 2 months, help you be able to keep a routine. Because another thing, too, I've noticed a lot of beginner lifters, people starting back, is it's hard to get in that routine. They come for 3 or 4 times, and then they get so sore that they're like, okay, I'll take a day off. Well, that one day leads to a week. That week leads to a month. That month leads to a year, and they just never establish that routine. The Deer Antler helps you, you recover quicker, get rid of that pain, be able to come back each day, get into that routine, get your workout set up, and actually make it part of your lifestyle instead of just, I want to try this for a month before spring break and then never do it again. It keeps you, on that level, keeps you motivated.
Do you think that it should be considered a performance-enhancing drug?
In the category of anabolic steroids and things like that, no. I do not believe it should be considered that because I believe it's already in your body. It's IGF-1. That's your body creates that. I believe this should be part of everyone's regimen with, protein and the standard, basic building blocks of working out. I recommend this for everyone, even people who aren't athletes, just for, say you stay on your feet all day long working your job. You're going to build, you're going to do some damage to your cartilage and your knees. Your feet are going to hurt. It will help with that as well. I believe this is a universal application for everyone.
And I think that's why so many people are skeptical about the Deer Antler product because it does have so many different benefits. I have Dr. Alex Duarte's book in front of me. Like I said, from joint pain to arthritis to, recovery times to sexual health. There's so many different benefits. It's tough sometimes for people to believe that one product can do so many things.
Yeah, I think a lot of times there's always been that magic pill that people have always heard of that, companies have marketed, this will do that and this and make you a, bodybuilder in 2 weeks. And people get kind of used to hearing all those crazy, results. But this one actually will do it. This actually will help your body in every facet, and it's completely natural. And there's so many good things about it. I don't know where to stop.
We were talking about earlier in the show, there's no side effects. When we're talking about performance-enhancing drugs and things like steroids, there's a whole host of side effects that come along with taking steroids. But there's no side effects, or there's no deleterious effects from taking the Velvet Deer Antler.
Oh yeah, there's no side effects whatsoever. There's no overdose worries. There's no liver damage or something like that. That accompanies a lot of the anabolic steroids and things like that. And like I said, there's just no downside to it. Only positive. So I don't see what. At least try it for a lot of people. I mean, it can't hurt you. There's no side effects, nothing like that. You'll just see benefits and you'll fall in love with it.
Right. I mean, I was reading a testimonial from a 77-year-old grandfather that had terrible rheumatoid arthritis, and within 2 weeks of taking the Velvet Deer Antler, he had no pain and started golfing again. I mean, the stories and the testimonials are incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Colin, do you know of other lifters you lift with that also use it?
Oh yeah, I have a whole crew of guys who've tried it, because we all have our past too. I was a collegiate wrestler. I had football player friends who I work out with now, and we all have our different bumps and bruises and our battle scars from our previous life. And a lot of guys, when I've told them about this, they started taking it. A lot of their old injuries no longer bother them. They're allowed to push themselves a little harder. And so far, everyone I've introduced you to has become a return customer, and they love it. They just keep coming back to it, and only good things have been said about it.
Now
sorry, go ahead, Matt.
No, you're a record-holding power lifter. Can you talk about your records real quick? What you hold? I know you have a world record bench press. Do you also have a squat as well?
I currently hold 3 world records in the IPL, International Powerlifting League, for the 198 weight class. I hold a 463 bench press, a 606 squat, and a 1653 total, and that includes my deadlift. Actually, I have a meet coming up on October 5th, and I'm looking to smash that record and hopefully be the 9th person in history to break 1,800 pounds at 198. And that's completely raw, too, so no supportive gear, things like that.
So now...
Now, Colin, that's all from taking the Deer Antler?
Yes. No work whatsoever put in there.
Colin, you're definitely at the highest levels of powerlifting. So, we got to ask you kind of a controversial question: is what's your feeling on performance-enhancing drugs inside of powerlifting?
I believe there's 2 ways to look at it. If you try to group powerlifting into just one giant organization, it's not going to work out, because you have your raw lifters, you have your equipped lifters, you have your tested and your untested. I believe as long as you keep them separate, go for it. But I believe they should have some sort of teaching about it, educate people. The biggest thing with performance-enhancing drugs is people don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're taking, and they're killing themselves. Be educated. Be open about it. Don't break laws. But just be smart and keep the playing field even. If you're going to have someone who's tested, have them compete against tested people. Because that's the only time you're going to have true competition. Because someone who's tested and untested, there'll be a huge difference in lifts and body composition and things like that. So I believe.
So how do we get there? So Colin, how do we get there? That's the problem. Is we look at the A-Rod situation, and we look at these high-end labs that exist that are able to change the molecular structure of steroids and other growth factors, so the test can't pick it up. So is it fair? Let's say that you're a hormone-free lifter. Is it fair that you have to compete against a guy who simply may have more resources, has a better lab, and taking stuff that's essentially under the radar? What's the step to eradicate that issue?
I believe it's just more of talking to the actual athletes, making them more honest competitors. Because, like you said, the companies will always be one step ahead of the test. All they have to do is change around one chemical form, one slight thing, and it's something that's legal or something that can slip under the radar there. I believe you should work more with the athletes, make them feel more apt to be that natural athlete, to see what they can do by themselves, and work more on them instead of the opposite side of putting more regulations and testing, because all that's expensive. I know with powerlifting for me, the testing meets, it's twice as expensive because we have to pay for the test and things like that. But I believe, if the athletes are more honest and more willing on their end to be that natural person, to be following the rules, staying within the regulations, then I think that's the way to go, because you're never going to be able to, test everything. You can't stop it on that end. You have to do it through the athlete.
No, I think you're absolutely right, and that's that's the beauty of something like Velvet Deer Antler is it's a approved and natural way to have performance enhancing like effects without risking your health, without risking time in prison, without risking disenfranchising yourself with the sports organization you're working with. So
and without being disgraced in your sport.
Yeah, that's a huge point too, is without losing the respect of people around you, even though I believe we can all agree that even those that have been caught taking performance enhancers obviously have a tremendous amount of ability, they have a tremendous amount of talent, a tremendous amount of hard work to get them there. But yeah, you almost lose all that in translation when you get accused of taking performance enhancers. And it's sad, but it's true. And that's what happens throughout the country.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's another thing too is people lose their you lose your respect, your credibility, things like that, and that's something you can never regain as well. I mean, it takes so long and such a lot of work to actually get a good reputation and get respect from everyone, and you can just lose it in a heartbeat from one mistake. And that's another thing I think too that should help stop people from doing that, just because, hey, your reputation is you. And it's like for an athlete, for me, if, people don't believe that I did this natural, even though I may have passed the test, they're not going to actually accept me as who I am. You want to be able to earn that respect.
Fantastic. Well, Colin, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the line today. And we wish you all the best in your upcoming events. And hopefully we can have you on another show with another hot topic that we're talking about. And for our listeners out there, we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back with some of our listener questions. And stay tuned.
What if you could have the energy, stamina, mental focus, balance, and flexibility of a 21-year-old at ages 40, 50, 60, even older? Introducing the world of negative ions, backed by 50 years of clinical research and a Nobel Prize. You probably have heard about negative ion machines that help to keep the air in your home free of viruses and other pathogens. Now, have the same rejuvenating properties in a simple wristband called the Fusion Ions Band. Instantly, it bathes your body with wave after wave of negatively charged ions that help to promote youth, energy, balance, flexibility, and prime of life health. Try wearing it risk-free for 30 days and see for yourself that Fusion Ions bands are the most powerful negative ion bands on the market today.
Welcome back to Fusion Power Hour, Real Health Talk. Matt, I want to remind our listeners that if they have any comments, questions, or suggestions for future shows, don't hesitate to email us at info@fusionpowerhour.com. Because we're going to be covering a whole host of different topics in the next few weeks. And if people have questions about anything that we've covered on these shows, please, send us an email. We'll be glad to respond or answer those questions on our next show. So that's info@fusionpowerhour.com.
Yeah, we want to hear them. We want to hear comments, and that's what we're here for.
All right.
So I guess we should probably get to some of the questions that people wrote us about Velvet Deer Antler, because like I said before, there's lots of confusion out there on what it is, how it works. Hopefully we answered a lot of questions throughout this segment. But let's go ahead and jump into some of the questions that we have here, and let's start. Let's give the best answers we can.
All right. First question from Meg in Arkansas. What's the deal? Is it legal in sports or not?
This is a question I get a lot. I mean, because you read one news story to the next one, it's legal, it's not legal. So here's the real answer. Yes, Velvet Deer Antler is an approved substance as of May of 2013. It is legal in sports.
All sports.
All sports. All
Olympics.
Sports. Olympics, yes.
Across the board.
Across the board, it is a legal substance as of now in sports, is on the approved list.
Okay, so no one's going to get the scarlet letter for taking Velvet Deer Antler. No one's going to become the next Lance Armstrong.
There was
from taking Velvet Deer Antler.
It was a banned substance up until May. So up until May, it was a banned substance. So if you were caught using it, you could have issues. And now it is a fully approved substance to use.
Right. And that's why you were mentioning that Vijay Singh is actually going back and trying to get his record expunged, if you will, from taking the Velvet Deer.
Yeah, well, he's basically saying it was slanderous, saying that the PGA Tour jumped to conclusions and they essentially made slanderous comments against him because he took a substance that he didn't realize was on the banned list. And his defense was that he read the ingredients. IGF-1 is not on the ingredient list. It's just the potency of the Velvet. And the reason why it was banned before May was that Velvet Deer Antler, because it produces IGF-1 or contains IGF-1, therefore was said to be an IGF-1 product. And that's, again, like I said, since been overturned in May of this year.
I think he's right. I think he's going to be right on that one.
Yeah, it's caused a major issue. I mean, let's face it, the PGA Tour does not like controversy. They don't like lawsuits. But, that's what they're dealing with.
All right, we got Larry from Phoenix. What's the deal? No, sorry, that's the last one. This is Larry from Phoenix. Yeah. What's the difference between IGF-1 and HGH? If HGH is banned, why isn't IGF-1?
Okay, so that's a great question. In reality, they are both banned. Okay, so IGF-1 is banned, human growth hormone is banned, but kind of like I explained before, when you inject human growth hormone, which has to be taken through insulin-like shots, when you inject HGH or human growth hormone, the body converts it into IGF-1, which is the final active ingredient.
So taking IGF-1 in its raw form or HGH is illegal.
It is illegal and is banned from sports, but it's also criminally illegal. So if you were found to have those substances without a doctor's prescription, okay, so that's important. Without a doctor's prescription, it is illegal. Now, Velvet Deer Antler.
So the only way you can really get this IGF-1 or increased levels of IGF-1 is by taking the Velvet Deer Antler.
That's correct. Or you go to one of those rejuvenation clinics. Like you've seen the guy that's like 65 and jacked on all the magazine articles. You can go.
But isn't that HGH?
It is, but it's doctor prescribed. Doctor prescribed HGH.
So if an athlete is prescribed HGH, it's legal?
No, that's where it gets sticky. Okay, is that it criminally is legal, so he's not breaking any local or federal laws, but the substance is still banned by their league, so they could still be sanctioned inside their league, even though they're illegally taking it by a prescription.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So
okay.
That's where. But I think what the question was trying to ask is why isn't Velvet Deer Antler banned when HGH and IGF-1 is? And in reality, the Velvet Deer Antler naturally contains it. So essentially what the law is saying is unless you are independently injecting those hormones directly into your body, that's the only way it's illegal. With Velvet Deer Antler, it's a natural way to get it. So like you said, other than a prescription, it's the only way to get additional IGF-1.
Well, that makes sense. Okay, we have Ken from Minneapolis. Is IGF-1 only for athletes? That's a great question.
No, it's not. And
it's a great question.
Yeah, like we've. It is a great question.
I said it's a great question. He said, no, it's not. Is IGF-1 though? It's not only for it's not just for athletes.
It's for everybody. So IGF-1 is, we talked about before. It's used for sexual enhancement. It's used for anti-aging. It's used for just overall recovery. So people don't work out hard, still need muscle recovery.
There's a lot of seniors that take the Velvet Deer Antler. When I was reading the testimonials, 60, 70, 80-year-olds taking Velvet Deer Antler.
Yeah, they're using it for joint pain. And like I kind of explained before, our levels decrease as we get older. So it's a supplement that we want to keep taking as we get older. So
the older you get, probably the more benefits you're going to experience by taking the Velvet Deer Antler as well.
Yeah, I mean,
because you would think by the time you're 60, 70, 80 years old, your IGF-1 levels are almost depleted.
They are. They're
so
gone.
By taking the Velvet Deer Antler, you must get a pick me up.
You get a pick me up, and it's a lot less expensive. I mean, let's face it. A lot of seniors are on budgets. It's a lot less expensive than having to go to a anti-aging clinic or a rejuvenation clinic and getting full HGH shots like a lot of other people do.
All right. We have one more question from Matt in Boston. It says, what is your opinion on doping in sports?
My God, could it be more of a loaded question?
Right. Well, I mean, we covered that really in the last hour, but I mean, I'll tell you what my opinion on doping in sports is.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I mean, like I said earlier in the show, if they're taking a drug that has deleterious side effects, that is getting our youth to look at these as alternatives to like steroids. If you think A-Rod is taking steroids, you're going to have a lot of kids going, hey, I want to take steroids. I want to be the next A-Rod. I mean, then I can understand, these organizations getting involved and wanting to, ban these substances like steroids.
Let me stop you right there, though. So here's the issue I have is that A-Rod isn't going on TV or the radio doing a steroid commercial, right? It's only being brought up because the media is attacking it, because people are putting it out there. So that 10-year-old kid that you're talking about wouldn't even know that he took steroids had it not been blasted all over the media.
Right, but we all remember the story, Lyle Alzao, right?
Yeah.
Am I saying that correctly? Lyle Alzao?
Yeah, it's
Remember the Raiders player. He was a monster.
Yeah.
And, and the story, when he was dying, he was, he was a small, tiny, fragile, weak man when he died, and they related it back to his steroid use. So, I mean, 10, 15, 20 years from now, is that what A-Rod's going to look like?
Yeah, so we have to be careful, too, when they said they, because if you watch the documentary Bigger, Stronger, Faster, they went back and they actually talked to Lyle's doctors, and the actual doctor that treated him said that steroids was not what killed him. He felt a sense of guilt because he'd been taking it for so long, but the doctors actually said he had a lot of other issues. No matter what he had taken or not taken, he would have ended up. I mean, he had brain cancer, I believe. He would have ended up in that state no matter where he was previously. I mean, let's face it. There's a lot of very sick patients that end up very frail by the time they die.
But Matt, what you're saying is, if like it wasn't in the news, for instance, about A-Rod, nobody would even really know what he's doing.
Yeah, that's my point, is that we sensationalize this stuff as a country, when really, is it truly our business to, talk about or regulate what an individual athlete does for their own performance?
So do you think steroids should be legal in sports?
I don't believe they should be legal in sports. I just don't understand why it's such a national topic. I think we have better things as a nation to worry about when it comes to our national issues than whether or not A-Rod is taking steroids. That's my point.
I think all the polls agree with you on that. That why is Congress, why is politics getting involved with something like this?
It's a big. It's a waste of time.
Agrees. But the question is about doping in sports. I don't really know.
I think the debate can go on and on, because it all comes down to, what is doping is considered just taking a substance, right? And
But if it's prescribed by your doctor, like HGH, it could be considered legal.
It can be.
You can get a doctor today to prescribe anything.
You can, especially unfortunately those anti-aging. We might as well talk about it too. Testosterone can be prescribed at a local clinic as well. So it's not just HGH. If you go in and you test for low testosterone, they have it. You see it on the TV all the time.
Actually, the creams and stuff to boost your testosterone. But if an athlete goes and takes that testosterone, or even gets it prescribed by a doctor, is that illegal?
It's not illegal from a law standpoint, but it's not approved by their league. So they'll test them for additional, high levels of testosterone. Again, all their tests are based on baselines. So they'll say, okay, for a person of your age, your size, your weight, you should be producing this amount of testosterone. If you're above that, you're going to get flagged for a potential use. Then they do a molecular investigation. They try to find these foreign substances that are inside your body. So yes, if you went to your doctor, legitimately found out to have low testosterone, were approved a substance essentially bring you to normal level, and you went to get tested by the NFL, say you're an NFL player, you would be flagged for illegal use in their terms.
But if they looked at what normal levels are, and they noticed that you have an increased level, then it could be deemed illegal.
Yeah, and so here's where the issue comes in, is that just like any other industry or anytime you deal with people in general, the greed factor comes in. So what you have is athletes that aren't taking just the amount to be at a normal level. You have these bodybuilders and different people that are taking 10, 20, 30 times the amount.
And that shows up in their blood levels.
Of course it does. Yeah, and that's
right.
So that's where the regulation comes in is, right now the rule just says if we find any trace of it, whether it's 1% over or you're taking 9 times the amount, you're going to be flagged for it. And that's the issue. Is there isn't real strict protocol on what doping actually means, right? And that's the issue. So there's not anything that we can actually look at or kind of, I guess, to prove the amount that someone's actually taking.
Right. It's confusing, and there's more information coming out all the time, and we'll be putting updates on our website, fusionpowerhour.com. But, Matt, it's really been a fascinating for a show, and I'm really looking forward to the next few weeks and, talking about a whole host of different health topics. It's very exciting. If you have any questions, comments, or any observations about our show, please send us an email at info@fusionpowerhour.com. Any last thoughts, Matt?
No. I'm really excited about what we have coming up in the next few weeks, and this is exactly what I wanted, was a way where we can talk about real information, give our own opinions, and share our knowledge with our listeners. It's going to be a fantastic journey we're on here.
Also, if you want more information on the Velvet Deer Antler and the reputable companies to get the product from, also go to our website, fusionpowerhour.com, and we'll provide links, and I'll even put up the interview that I did with Dr. Alex Duarte, the doctor who wrote the book on Velvet Deer Antler, right on the site as well.
All right, well, thanks for listening. This has been Fusion Power Hour. My name is Donald Barrett.
And I'm Matt Ryncarz.
And we'll talk to you next week on Fusion Power Hour, Real Health Talk.
Thanks for listening to the Fusion Power Hour, Real Health Talk. Catch the Fusion Power Hour every Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern, only on the Arena Sports Network.